and stunning HD. This is
English Premier League news.
Your home of sport.
And now for the review of the match. I've comprised my own notes, and also have comprised notes from Mark, who was giving his view on the game, so we're just going to say them both together. So we're going to start off with the game. So Burnley started off very well in the first 15 minutes. They put their heart into the game and scored an absolutely brilliant goal. It was a left-footed volley from just on the edge of the area, which beat Courtois. There is some doubt about whether Courtois could have done something about it, but in my opinion, he could have done absolutely nothing about that. However, after this, Chelsea really did turn their game up and played absolutely brilliant at a very, very quick, fast rate. After about 17 minutes, they managed to score 3 goals, which was disappointing for Burnley, who could have had a grip hold on that game and try and keep that lead till half-time, and then try and build on that in the second half. After that moment, though, the game started to phase out, and there wasn't many amazing amount of attacks from either team. Chelsea sat back and pretty much took the result. For me and Mark, the key players such as Cesc Fabregas, who was Mark's man of the match with 2 assists. One was an absolutely brilliant half-volleyed pass to Schürrle, which was the second goal, which in my opinion is the goal of the season so far. And also the cross from the corner for Ivanovic's left-footed volley, which was an absolutely spectacular curling ball in swinging. It was brilliant. He also played very well in all the areas. He was kind of playing as a deep-lying midfielder, which is where I believe he can also play. But then also off the front, front man, which he did when Drogba came on. He did fantastically well there. Once again, calming possession, very good player. My man of the match was Eden Hazard. I thought Eden Hazard was absolutely superb. One of the best players on the pitch. Maybe most people wouldn't agree with that. I mean, Fabregas was brilliant, don't get me wrong, but Hazard drove Chelsea forward. The amount of mesmerising runs he produced was brilliant. He was just his ball control is sensational. He was able to dictate the play for Chelsea. He was able to pick the ball up. Matic and Fabregas would always be giving him the ball. Schürrle would be making runs off the ball. Diego Costa would be looking for the long ball forward. And then also to the left of that, you'd have Oscar, who I thought was pretty much non-existent in the game. Oscar wasn't really involved very much. Other players who also played well were Diego Costa. Mark's opinion was that it was a dive, and that's meant that Mark significantly lowered his rating of the player in the match. However, in my opinion, Diego Costa didn't dive. He kind of jumped over, tried to hurdle the keeper, and then got caught while trying to hurdle the keeper. So I don't think you could say it was a dive. I think the way he fell down looked like it was a dive. In my opinion, the goalkeeper has a right to come in and challenge the striker, and the striker's tried to avoid the keeper in the first place. So you could say it's a penalty, you could say it's not. I think in my opinion it's a 50-50, but I don't think you could have booked Diego Costa for a dive. I think you could have given a free kick or you could have given a penalty, but you don't book anyone for anything except the goalkeeper. You'd have to give the goalkeeper a red card because he denied him a goal scoring opportunity if you were to give the penalty. Also, Courtois was absolutely fantastic in the game. A very, very, very dominant player in the box. Much like Manuel Neuer, he's very calm in possession of the ball. He picks it up very nicely from corners. And in my opinion, Tito Courtois was just so good in the air from the corners. He dropped a single catch. He won every single ball from every corner. He did have one highlight where he produced an absolutely sensational save from Burnley's first goal scorer. Also, Mark was surprised that Willian didn't start, and I thought he's extremely he believes he's extremely underrated. And also similarly for Drogba, not getting a start. In my opinion, I don't think Drogba's ready for the Premier League at the moment. He needs to get his fitness back up to how it was before. Certainly for Willian, I think he could possibly get a start ahead of Oscar, but I don't think he can take Schürrle's place out of the side because he's just absolutely fantastic when he plays. His off-the-ball runs and his striker's instinct in the box is something that Chelsea really do need. His quick passing, his build-up play. I think Willian is a lot more of a defensive footballer. For when Chelsea are going to be playing away at places like at the Etihad, Old Trafford, places like that, they need Willian on there who's going to work hard and track back. For the game today, I thought Willian was not a necessity. Burnley's goal scorer also stood out for Mark and also certainly for myself. But apart from that, I don't think there was many other players that you could really say stood out. After watching the game, it was quite clear that Burnley could possibly get relegated, as there was no moment where Chelsea... There was no moment after Chelsea went ahead that Burnley looked like they were ever going to be promising. Other than the first 10 minutes of the first half, I thought they were pretty good. They were stringing a good piece of passes. In my opinion, I think Burnley's style of play is pretty good. They don't sit back. They make some nice, quick passes, and they played similarly to Chelsea in that way, but obviously nowhere near as good. Saying that though, Chelsea are a very tough team to play against, and there'll be many other teams that'll get thrashed by Chelsea 7-0, 5-0, 6-0, stuff like that. So you've got to take that into consideration. But going on to Chelsea, the goal they conceded looked extremely good. Other than the goal they conceded, they were extremely good. Mourinho's men looked absolutely fantastic, really composed on the ball, playing it pretty much like Barcelona. Quick 1-2 passes, and Fabregas just was brilliant today. You could easily give him man of the match. Everything you'd expect from all the money they've spent on their players. So in my opinion, and Mark's opinion, they really are title contenders, especially with adding Costa, Drogba and Fabregas. They could really prove to be title contenders this season with Matic, Oscar and Fabregas in midfield. That is a very balanced midfield. You've got Matic, who is your defender, who's going to sit back, he's going to tackle players, and he's really going to stand in front of the back four and just not get forward whatsoever unless he has to. And then you've got Oscar, who is very creative. He's good at dribbling. He can also play as a winger as well. And then you've got Fabregas, who's just a composed, experienced central midfielder. And then on the wings, you've obviously got Hazard, Schürrle, Costa. You can switch it up. They've got a very strong squad, and I think Chelsea are going to win the title this year. Welcome to the next part of the review, which is 5 things we have learned from the game. We're going to start off with number 1. Fabregas will be a force to be reckoned with in the Premier League this season. In my opinion, Fabregas is going to top the assisting goal chart, and he's possibly going to enter into double figures in goals. So why did Arsene Wenger not sign Fabregas? He had first option. Why, Arsene, would you not sign, says Fabregas? He doesn't have to play further forward where Cazorla, Ozil, Walcott all play there. He doesn't need to be around there. He can play central defensive midfielder, and he could have slotted very nicely alongside a Jack Wilshere or possibly a Flamini. Secondly, we got Scott Arnfield. He scored Burnley's opener and might have grabbed a second on the night. He had been released by Huddleston last year, but tonight will be a night that he shall never forget. Point number 3: Burnley really cannot let this defeat linger. The universal law of football for newly promoted clubs is they're most dangerous in the first weeks of the season, so they cannot be sobering over this night at Burnley. If you discount the win they had last season against Tottenham, they actually only won 7 games in the Premier League last season, and before October, 5 of those wins took place before October the 31st. So basically, Sean Dyche's side really need to get their act together and try and get their wins early and quick and fast. Point number 4, Jose Mourinho formula is finally working once again. Joko began his brief of his disastrous stint at Liverpool, starting off with a remark saying Jose Mourinho always regarded the games against the bottom 10 teams in the league were the most important games in the season. If you beat them home and away, you get 60 points. This was his mantra. Last season, however, this formula did fall apart. Between the 29th of July and the 4th of May, Chelsea managed to drop 15 points to West Ham, West Brom, Aston Villa and Norwich. After 14 minutes, this seemed to be another stitch in the pattern, but the old Mourinho formula was back once again, and with even more flair. And finally, point 5, Chelsea will be title contenders, and they should be fun to watch. However, just as Manchester United's victory over Real Madrid in pre-season did not signal the resurgence of the club ready to seize the heights of European football, the win over a side that cost 15 times less than Mourinho's summer transfer budget. However, nevertheless, they were hugely impressive, and if Chelsea regain the title, they may do so with rather more flair and style than Mourinho's teams usually display.